with you guys. I really had a good time doing that stuff.
We are live. We are live. Thanks everybody for tuning in with Mad Monster today. We have Sergeant Horror with Mark Richardson and Mark Villalobos here. How's everything going out there, Mark?
Good. How you guys doing?
Can't complain. Now you're on the West Coast, right?
Yes.
In La La Land with old Mark Richardson.
Hell yeah.
Oh man. And everybody tuning in, I want y'all to let us know in the comments what's your favorite horror movie. Drop the title in there. If you was, I'm gonna ask you this part, Villalobos, and let you get this first. If you was going on a space station and you could only have one horror movie with you to watch for, let's say, 5 years, which ones is it gonna be?
Just one?
Just one.
Probably Texas Chainsaw 2.
Two.
2.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
What about you, Mark Richardson?
Exorcist.
Let the power of Christ compel you.
Hell yeah. It should be.
Part of me would say I would want to do the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But being that is my favorite horror movie, but if I was on a space station and I couldn't watch anything else for 5 years, I'd want something that shows some titties. So I'd do probably Friday the 13th, part 1 would be good for me.
Hey, Mark, you worked on Army of Darkness, didn't you?
Yeah, I did some fabrication for some of the skeletons for the stop motion, and I ran some stop motion puppets for the Deadites for the one that takes the girl away. They did it in stop motion when it flies away with her.
Did you do because Gary Young was my roommate at the time, and he snagged me a bunch of stuff, but they came and got it. Did you do any of the aquarium skeletons that like we're digging the grave? Were you doing the puppeteering for that?
I built some of the background ones, and then I did some of the. I had to go into Fantasy 2 at night and kind of work. I can't remember the guy's name, but we were making all kinds of stuff at that time, and he was having me pour up bones and make little shovels and all kinds of stuff. But yeah,
I still have some of the tombstone molds, the little molds. I still have some of those. Should make some of those up. I love Army of Darkness. I know Sergeant Horror there. He's not a big Bruce Campbell fan, but I love it.
I'd like to whoop Bruce one good time. He's been killing all them demons. I'd see what he fares against a pig clown. Good old country tale whooping.
I think that's a show, isn't it? Don't they have one of the show?
I don't know. I don't know. We'd do the battle royal thing. Let him dress up like Bubba Ho-Thump or whatever that movie was he did.
Oh yeah. Well, I heard they're doing a sequel now, right?
That's what I heard.
Army of Darkness.
That's what I heard. I'm looking forward to it.
It's supposed to be kind of like Road Warrior.
That's going to be all K&B, don't you think?
I don't know. You never know. Wherever it's shot, I guess that's who will do it.
Who's the cheapest?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, before we get too far along in this, I wanted to wish a happy birthday to Mad Monster Zone Bigfoot specialist Kevin Tate.
Happy birthday, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin.
He just turned 21 years old, so tonight he's getting his first legal drink.
That's funny.
Now, I want to ask you guys that's watching, be sure to share this. If you got any questions for Mark, Mark's works special effects and makeup. Mark Richardson does props, Power Rangers.
Goddamn Power Rangers.
I wanted to ask both of you guys, what's the weirdest thing you've ever made or did makeup on in a movie?
I'm gonna go then, Mark. The weirdest prop was for Bad Santa 2. I had to go get the testicles from Step Brothers, supposed to be Will Ferrell's testicles, and I had to rub the rubber testicles over. I can't think of the actor's name, but he's his partner in Bad Santa 2, the guy that plays the little elf, and
Right.
he's in a hospital bed, and they had to literally hold me up over the hospital bed, and I had to teabag his face up and down. I think that's probably one of the weirdest things I ever had.
Yeah, I'd have to say for me, it was probably Humanoids from the Deep, the remake. We had a huge cocoon that we had made. Roy from Soda had made this giant cocoon out of like chicken wire and polyfoam. So the thing stunk really bad, like chemicals. But I had to push all these like naked 18-year-old girls out this orifice of this thing, and I had to slime them up behind it and then pick them up and push them out the hole. And then I remember one of them, their panties got snagged on the chicken wire and pulled her panties off. So when she landed outside of the thing, she was and so then I thought it was pretty funny, so I was kind of cracking jokes, but then I realized all the moms were like sitting outside watching this happen. And I was just like, oh, hey, sorry, I didn't mean to pick up your daughter and throw her through a hole naked into the movie set. But I remember that was just a very strange, surreal moment.
I got one. Class of Nukem High 2, the giant radioactive squirrel is supposed to be throwing up on people. And for some reason, they thought that this weird mixture of oatmeal and weird crap would look great as vomit. And we have these like vats of this fake vomit, and we're pouring on people are looking up, and we're pouring on them like the squirrel spitting up on them. But we didn't get to the shot until late into the afternoon. And so it smelled like death. So we're pouring this crap on these people that smells worse than any kind of vomit. And what if you see them when you watch this scene, they get all dripped on them, but you see them start going, and we have like 50 extras throwing up afterwards. So it was like disgusting. It was so wonderful. I loved it.
Now, what do they use to make fake vomit?
Well, I think we just made crap up, because what we used was just, I remember there's a lot of oatmeal and milk and like weird crap like that.
Everybody thinks it's supposed to be pea soup because of The Exorcist, but I mean, I usually just mix up some pudding and throw in some food coloring and throw some chunks in there of something, just something that makes it really gross. I try and get the real nice puke color, because people know what puke looks like. As soon as they see it, they're like, oh God. It's usually out of a salmony color.
I don't think I could let people put fake puke on me, because I'd probably puke for real. I'd be like those extras like that.
Well, in Class of Nukem High 3, I actually get puked in the mouth, and then I puke. It's because we tried to do scenes that were, we really did try to do gross scenes, and because I was a crew member, as a production designer and an actor, I would try to go, I wanted to make it the worst of the worst of the worst, and I did. I mean, that film is horrible with gross out scenes and stuff, but it's low budget gross out.
That one's considered classic. All those movies are becoming classics. Class of Nukem High, 1984, Toxic Avenger.
Yeah.
Street Trash now has got a big revival. So there's something about those movies. They were just so low tech and fun that people just loved it.
Lloyd Kaufman had grabbed me. This is at the San Diego Comic Con in '91. He goes, I want you to be Toxie. And I was like, hell yeah, I'll be Toxie. And so I'm Toxie, and I thought I'm going to be there for photo ops and stuff like that. And Lloyd goes, well, I got you on a panel with like Stan Lee and all these big comic book artists and all these legendary actors. And and then they had me, and I had no idea what I was doing there. And I was just like being ridiculous, saying whenever anyone would say anything, I'd be like, Eric Estrada was in love with, Abe Vigoda. They were fish and chips. I was just saying stupid things left and right.
Right.
But luckily, somebody in the audience spilt their drink, and I had my mop, so I jumped up out of the panel and went and mopped. That was my only saving grace. But I got to be Toxic Avenger, so I love that.
I heard they're talking about having Arnold Schwarzenegger play him.
Oh my God, could you imagine? Hey, Mark, have you ever played a monster in your films?
I was in Faust. I was a satanic worshiper in Faust. That's about as close. What else? It's always my hand, or sometimes I'll have to put the mask on and poke my head through something or do something, but I've never actually played a full monster.
I can see you doing that, though. I mean, you've been doing it for so long. I gotta tell you, Mark, I love working with you. I enjoyed so much. Every time we had a project together, it was like having, being with your friend while you're doing it. And I really,
Right.
and I was saying, I used to just come over to you guys' shop and just hang out. I loved that. I loved just hanging out there. It was so much fun.
Well, for the longest time, you were the only guy that whatever the name would come up when they said props for a horror movie, it'd be like, well, you got to get Mark Richardson. Because
I know you guys got me on a lot of things.
I still have the electric chair.
Oh, badass.
Yeah,
now,
I'm thinking of having it shipped to Atlanta.
Wow.
Now, you guys watching, be sure you're sharing this. What is your favorite low budget trauma? It could be a trauma or not trauma, low budget horror movie. We've got a couple of people that chimed in on here that said Slime City is a great one. William says that. Dennis says the best trauma is Toxic Avenger 2. And they said there's also one coming out called Shitstorm, which that title doesn't surprise me when you say trauma.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of had the formula for a while, just making some of the most outrageous stuff. And how many trauma films did you do, Mark?
I did, Nukem High 2 and 3, but I also did, I can't think, that's how bad it is. I did 3, but I can't remember the third one. It was
now, you
like,
kind of look like the casting agent in that Vice Academy movie.
well, yeah, but that wasn't trauma. That was Rick Sloan. I loved doing those movies. I love Vice Academy. I love doing trauma films. I mean, Eric Lazille was the director. He would literally get me and go, Mark, go over there and do a horror. Do a horror comedy thing. And we just go over there and make stuff up. One of the worst things I got to do was because we established that the creature jumps out of the stomach like Alien. I get a girl pregnant, and as I played the actor that gets the girl pregnant, and she needs to go to the abortion clinic because she knows an alien's going to jump out of her. And there's an anti-abortion rally going out in front of the abortion clinic, and they have signs that say, don't kill it, and they're trying to stop her. Don't kill it. The creature breaks out of her belly, and it starts eating everybody, and they flip the signs over. Kill it, kill it. I mean, nobody said anything. They just let me do it. We made it. I loved it.
Now, I'm curious. We've got a lot of independent filmmakers that like watching the live feeds here. While I got both of y'all on, could y'all kind of tell us what your advice would be to independent filmmakers when they're dealing with special effects, makeup, and props?
Well, I mean, I do a lot of low budget stuff. I've done a lot of it, but I love doing the low budget stuff because you get to do so many crazy things.
You get to be creative.
You get to be very creative, and sometimes the stuff doesn't look good, but you learn a lot because you're like, well, I learned never to mix that with that again, or this actually worked out great. Like I just did a horror movie I do a TV show called Legacies, and then in between that, I did another Hulu show and a horror movie. And the horror movie, I actually made some stuff that I hadn't made before because they would just tell me they want this certain thing and I would make it. And I didn't know how to make it. So I'd be like, well, that's challenging. But they gave me the time. That was the real issue. Like you go in to do special effects, you got to find a good special effects person who has a vision, who needs the time to do it. Sometimes the money isn't there, and most of the times that's it. No one's ever said, hey, I got all the money and all the time. I've never heard that. I've only heard, I have all the money, but I got no time, or I got no time and, I got all the money, no time and money. So it's always just one of those two. But, if you have somebody who does a really good job because they have a vision and even if they use goofy stuff like, chocolate syrup for blood or whatever, sometimes people can make it look really amazing because they just come in fresh. And if the director gives them the time and works with them and sees that they have a vision, that's the best for low budget horror because you'll get really good stuff that way. There's a lot of new low budget horror movies that look almost like big budget horror movies now because the techniques are so out there that the gore and the characters and stuff and the sculpting from people are just so amazing now that it all looks great. So it's really hard to make a really cool low budget horror movie because even the shitty ones look amazing.
What's your advice, Mark Richardson?
Oh, I don't have any advice. I as far as props go, don't do it. Get into anything but props. Get into camera. Get into the DGA. I'll teach, Lena from Game of Thrones how to fire an Uzi properly, and then I have to go run and get her chairs for the producers' friends that are coming. Props is probably the most thankless job out there. We have to be on set. We have to make sure the continuity is perfect.
Yeah.
And if we screw up, we get the blame. I mean, and it's so easy to screw up. I could go through Piranha 3D, Rob Zombie's Halloween, where I screwed up. I screwed up because, there's reasons why, but I screwed up. And it's just like a bizarre job. And, you're constantly have to, because a director, the scene is set up, they've rehearsed it a million times where, the girl comes in the house and she puts her phone down and she walks into her bedroom. We're getting ready to shoot it, and the director goes, you know what? Let's not have her put her phone down. Let's have her go into the kitchen, and let's have her making eggs, and she's going to stir the eggs with a knife. Props, can you make that happen? It's like, okay, well, now I got to, run out, get the eggs, get everything done. And then you got the AD looking at you like waiting on props. Like it's my fault that the director you're not waiting on me. You just made up this thing. You're waiting on the change of things. And that happens constantly in props. So I'm telling you, folks, props is not the way to go. I love it. I love what I'm doing now, but it's not the way to go.
But Mark, for an independent filmmaker, what would you tell them to do for props? You know what I mean? Because you've seen all these independent filmmaking movies where the props look like they just went to Target and then spray painted some stuff. And a lot of times that's great, but your stuff has a different level than just, what could they do?
Well, my stuff has a different level because I've had experience. I know that if I'm going to run to Target and get that thing, whatever it is, I better buy 4 of them because they're going to break it and they're going to destroy it. There's our book right there from Halloween. But all I could tell is get experience. Start doing it because you're going to make so many mistakes doing props. There's such a large margin, and you have to improvise all the time. Always, you're gonna screw up. There's not a prop person out there that doesn't screw up, but you have to improvise. You have to make it work, and you just have to go with it.
I heard they had Starbucks. They had to remove Starbucks cups from
Game of Thrones. Yeah. Well, on Star Trek, there's a scene where they're coming down the stair track, and there's all these Coca-Colas sitting where they had extras sitting there drinking Cokes and stuff like that.
Now,
That's more set deck, right? Doesn't
Yeah.
that fall for set deck?
But believe me, they're going to blame props. Props
Yeah.
ends up being blamed for it.
Yeah.
now, my question for you, Mark Villalobos, is you're working on Legacies right now. And for those people that don't know what Legacies is a spinoff from the Vampire Diaries, right?
Right. And the originals.
In the originals, that's right, because it had the Vampire Diaries, the original. CW can do a show with like 50 million episodes per season.
Yeah.
You know, they really can put them out. I've been tempted to check out the Legacies because I think Caroline and her husband, they have this like little school thing. Is that what Legacies is?
Yeah, it's basically kind of you take X-Men and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and it's basically a school for all these kids that are like vampires or witches or werewolves, and they're kind of controlled, learning how to use their powers. But there's these other monsters that arrive, and they kind of just run chaos through the town and through the school, and they're always using their powers to try and figure out how to stop these new creatures. And it's there's a lot of like fantasy, and they try and base everything on realistic things. So like Minotaur would be like a mythical creature that probably existed back in the day, who knows, and then they try and do a really high-end level version of it for the show. Or leprechauns or whatever kind of crazy creature that people know about.
Yeah, I watched some of that Vampire Diaries, and man, that was like Twilight on steroids. 27,000 season with 50 million episodes, and I was like, just pick one of them, woman.
This is kind of close to Sabrina. I don't know if you've seen Sabrina.
No, Sabrina kicks ass.
Yeah, this show kicks ass too, but it's definitely for a young audience. Like, if you try and watch Buffy now, you can't watch it. It was made for an age group back then. Maybe you can watch it if you're really into Buffy, but this is that same kind of thing. I can actually watch the show because I think that they have good stories and they have good actors, and the quality of how they shoot the stuff looks amazing. It's by far the best job I've ever had. But the way that they do everything on the CW is just so professional, so perfect. And it's I think it's good. And I heard that Buffy got canceled, and I'm really happy that Legacies is still going, because I think they have so much more to do. They have a lot of cool characters that we have lined up for the new season, and a lot of new stuff, and I'm glad that this pandemic is still keeping it going, though. Even though it's kind of killing a lot of shows.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
and I like the originals. That was a good concept with them in New Orleans and all that drama.
Yeah, what's interesting is it's not a sequel to anything. It's actually a trilogy, because there's the Vampire Diaries, which back in the day, people liked that show religiously. And then the originals was kind of a serious version, and then now this is kind of more of a drama / action version of those two. And some of the characters and some of the things from the first two seasons peek in and do little appearances in Legacies, which gives the fans a lot, and they see, oh, hey, there's something on the headstone from a character from Vampire Diaries from 10 million years ago.
That's great.
They get a charge out of it. The props department over there really tries to make everything kind of match with all the seasons.
That's badass.
We got one question from Jay that wanted to know, where did the skeletons in the Army of Darkness, what inspired the skeletons in the Army of Darkness?
That was inspired by the Ray Harryhausen skeleton fight scene from
Seventh Voyage of Sinbad?
Jason and the Argonauts.
Jason and the Argonauts.
Yeah, from Jason and the Argonauts. They just I remember they were talking about sculpting some skeletons, and then they said, nah, we're just going to use the model kits. And they just started taking tons of model kits and bashing them together and putting armatures in them. And then we had to like kind of, sand them and clean them up a little bit, and make them look cool. But there's a lot of like stop motion stuff that I did on that they didn't even make to the movie. There was a spider version of Ash that was like he turns into kind of like a spider when he's connected at the hip.
Wow.
And we did a motion puppet of that just never made it to the movie.
Wow.
Yeah, it was cool. It was constantly fighting it.
And how was it working with them on that?
I mean, honestly, like what I did was so minimal back then compared to all the work that everybody else did. I ran stop motion puppets and I made props and I did little things like that. But there was, it was a good experience for that time because I was so young and in the business. I didn't even, I knew what it was, but at that time there was so many things going on in that shop across from where I was actually working. I would just go over there at night and work at that stuff because, they were working on stuff like Terminator and Dracula and, Army of Darkness. And I just wanted to go see what they were making. And I ended up just making friends with those guys and I'd be working on that stuff at night.
Was that Apogee that you were?
Fantasy 2.
Oh, Fantasy 2. That's right.
Yeah.
What's your favorite film that you've ever worked on?
I get asked that one a lot. I like The Hills Run Red because that was like the first movie that me and my partner Ron kind of broke away and did our own thing. And we were working for Soda Effects at the time. And then we decided, we just got this job and we said we should just go get another shop and do it legit, and we really hired everybody we could that we knew that was like a heavy hitter. We had Jim Cagle sculpting the mask, who was he had sculpted Freddy, he had sculpted Chucky, he had sculpted all the best stuff. I mean, anything that you've ever seen that's an iconic character, he's touched it. And so we hired him. We had Mike Broom design the character. Mike Broom designs everything for Walking Dead and K&B, and he's just an amazing designer.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
And we had Jordan and we had Jared Morantz did some designs. It was just a crazy time. But we had all these powerhouse artists working together, and they just made awesome stuff. And it was the character, I think, still it holds up. Even though it's a very basic character, we were saddled with that concept. I think it's one of the better things we got to do because we got to do so much.
Yeah, I really like that mask on there. That scene in the movie where she's singing to him and he's like, "You keep singing it, it helps you feel better." That was a great one.
Yeah. No, I love the movie. It ended really kind of weird because, we got into fight with the director and they were trying to swindle us out of money while we were out there. The producers out there in Bulgaria. And it was just a shit show. It ended up okay on our side, but, we were always kind of bummed out that, some of the people that we worked with that we liked a lot ended up kind of having a bad association with us. So that was sad, but the work still is good. Everything I look at in there, I'm still proud of today. And there's stuff that went terribly wrong, just like on any horror movie. We had a Bulgarian grip plug our fire extinguisher charger into his power, and he fried it. The thing just caught on fire. So we couldn't charge fire extinguishers anymore. So we were like there with like stupid syringes trying to make people bleed out of their necks and stuff. It was just all the stereotypical horror, effect stories you've ever heard. We painted a silicone head and it was at night. And then I remember coming back and there were so many bugs all over Bulgaria. Then when I came back, there was like flies stuck to the paint of this like really nice silicone head of William Sadler. And I just like screamed when I walked into the trailer because there's just like, you know, gnats and bugs and everything still moving, stuck to this thing because it was sticky from the silicone paint. And I had to pick them off and take off every leg off the damn head and clean it up and make it look like it was fine. And it was just terrible. Some of the experiences were really terrible, but I wouldn't trade them because it was a lot of fun. It was a crazy town. It's a party town. Like they like to party all day and night.
Jay wants to know, what's your favorite movie makeup? He said his is the Pale Man from Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, those are good because they're so original. They're really original. My favorite makeup? Man, you know, that's a hard one. I mean, anything from Rick Baker is amazing, obviously.
Yeah, I'd say The Thing. The makeup in The Thing is, to me, to this day,
but that's
brilliant.
Those were more like effects, though, Mark.
Yeah.
Those were more effects, I believe. Like, so, like, when I think of a makeup, I'd have to say Darkness from Legend. I actually have a full-size Darkness from Rob Bottin's thing. That's my favorite one, and I have it because, you know, I worked with Henry Alvarez, and I had we remade it for a collector, and I ended up getting a bad copy out of it, and took me a million years to fix it up and restore it, but we gave all the molds back and everything, and I just have this one copy of it.
That's great.
And I just put it in my studio.
You know,
yeah, like recently I've been getting into a lot of the old creatures. Like I'm rebuilding a full-size Alien right now.
Wow.
From Giger's molds. And then I just got a full RoboCop.
Wow.
So that's going to be cool once I put a full RoboCop together.
Are you going to have it in your shop at your house? Where are you going to put these up at?
Well, I'm building a shop right now. So like I'm going to have it there, and I might ship some of them out to my shop in Atlanta.
Wow.
Did you come out here to North Carolina? We got plenty of room on the farm. For the price of a 1-bedroom off of Sunset, you can have you a whole big farm.
Yeah, actually, the pieces that I got, some of them are right out of the molds from Rob Bottin, and some of them are 3D printed pieces that were scanned off of the actual one and then fixed up. Just, you know, it's incredible to like go back and look at all these costumes that people made, and you're just like, damn, this thing was like state of the art back then. It's so rough looking, but on screen you can't even tell. It just looks like perfect. But then when you hold it in your hand, you're like, gosh, you can't even read that, whatever it says on the side of the helmet or whatever. You know, people just fix things up while they're on set.
Yeah. What's your favorite piece in your collection, or your favorite 2 pieces in your collection now?
I just had, let me see.
What's Rosie's father's name? This is exciting.
Yeah. I'm just so curious to see what he's going to pull out.
Well, this is, you might remember a famous mask from when we were kids called Fang Face. This is the original. Now, when I was a kid, this was the mask to have. It was like in every Halloween store, everybody, you know, loved this mask. And it was hard to find. Once you found it, it only lasted there for a few days and someone bought it. So you had to get it or you didn't get it. You know, I had 2 or 3 of these, but eventually, you move and you do all kinds of stuff. You grow up, you don't have them anymore. But then a friend of mine, Jordu Shell, who I'm a huge fan of his work.
Jordu.
I had him recreate it for me, but like as if it was the movie version of it. And this is what he came up with for me.
Wow.
Oh wow.
That is really
So like
good.
really added a lot of the detail into the head.
Man, that is badass.
Yeah, it's really wicked looking.
I'm sorry, what's his name? You know what my prize piece is, Mark? Pat had made me a cast from Linda Blair's The Exorcist. He'd made a cast for me and painted it up. And that's like my favorite piece. And he gave it to me at Soda Effects. He made it for me at Soda Effects.
I think that was ours.
Yeah.
We had that mold laying around for a long time.
Yeah, he made a pull for me. I love that.
Did she have the eyes open?
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's small, right? It's been shrunk down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nice piece.
And you mentioned putting together a full-size RoboCop. How big will that thing be when you put together the RoboCop?
Well, I mean, it's big, like a normal sized guy, but he bulked it out so big that like the I mean, this is the helmet of it.
Wow.
So you can see like in the back some of the restoration that has to be done to it. Me and a friend of mine are restoring pieces like this and fixing them up and making, just trying to preserve them a little bit, because some of this stuff is out there and, people are just letting it rot apart and not even thinking about like, well, that might be the only one, out of that mold.
Yeah.
But it's going to be pretty big, I think. I'm going to try and find a Peter Weller life cast or have a face made for it so he can be standing there with the gun and everything. A nice action pose.
That'll be crazy.
Cool.
I heard some people tell me that, like, when they shot RoboCop, a lot of the crew were kind of joking the look of the RoboCop, and then when you turn on and watch the movie, it's badass. But on set, it didn't come across that way in some of the filming.
Yeah, but it's still badass.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
It's not as I think it boils down to this. Rob Bottin had a vision of how he wanted it to look, and it looked great.
Yeah.
When it walked, and Peter Weller sold it with walking around kind of like a robot.
Right.
But when you see the new RoboCop, it's so slick, it's so perfect. I think there's some character that got lost. It doesn't have that robotic look. It just looks very like superhero-y kind of wetsuit, and it didn't inspire people the same way. But I think that suit's amazing, though. When you look at it, you're just like, damn. If that would have come out when RoboCop came out instead of this one, people would have been all about it, I think. It's just we had this one first.
Yeah. I look at some of that stuff. I remember when Saw first came out, I got some good props from Saw, and then I ended up getting rid of them, you move and things like that. It's something that, what advice would you give to people that look to collect props and masks and stuff like that? There's a lot of things online, and there's a lot of things that say they're screen used or not screen used. How do you recommend going about collecting?
Well, it's like a whole subculture. You got to really get into it. There's a lot of people that show me stuff. They say it's real and it's not real. Or,
so much replicas out there. I've had people argue with me on that.
Yeah, sometimes I'll fix something up for somebody and I'll be like, this isn't real. Like I fixed up some stuff for Kirk Hammett for his collection. He has one of the world's biggest horror collections. And sometimes I'd be holding the real Creature from Black Lagoon head and I'd be like, oh my God, this thing is as brittle as like, eggshells. And then he'll hand me something else, and I'm like, wait, this is that one dude sculpted that, he put out, and it looks good, but it's not the original. But,
I get that. I get people, saying, this is an original thing. And I'm like, I made it. That's not what I made. I made the original thing,
right.
It's like, no, it's a fake. It's a replica. It's a good looking replica, but it's a replica.
Hey, Mark, do you still have Igor?
I have one of them. I don't have the flapping wing one, but I have the one that would swoop down and stuff like that. Igor is the bat from the Munsters. I don't talk about it because some GD collector is going to offer me some outrageous amount of money and I'll sell it. And that's how I lose everything. Everybody always offers me money for stuff.
You have the original one.
Yeah, from the Munsters.
Sorry, Mark.
I don't bring it up. Well, it's like Rob Zombie's knife, from Halloween. Everybody has one. There was only 4 of them screen used. 3 of them was really the only ones that were used. The other one was in a photo op. There was only 3 screen used knives, but everybody has one. It's like, come on, folks. I doubt that the original screen used knife, but everybody thinks that theirs is the original.
You should have marked it so that you could tell that it was. You should have put your initials in it or something.
So Rob has one. Tyler Main has one. I have one. And Sean Clark has the photo op one. And that's it. There's a retractable one that somebody else has, but there was like 4 knives used.
I want one of those masks that were from the Halloween movie.
Yeah, they had a shitload of those. I got one left.
No, I'm talking about the not the Michael Myers mask.
The paper mache ones that were up on the wall. The paper mache.
No, the original clown mask that the kid had on.
Oh.
The Cooper mask. Yeah.
Well, the original one from Rob's film, they didn't like what they had gotten, so they just went on eBay and got one. It was a mask that they just got off eBay.
Wow. I mean, how many times does that happen in movies that people buy stuff just straight off eBay for a movie?
Well, the Halloween mask is a William Shatner mask. I mean, people talk about that all the time. It was a turned inside out, painted William Shatner mask.
And those masks, someone just bought one of those things for God, it was so much money. I was like, how could someone spend that on a rubber mask for an actual William Shatner mask? I think it was something like $30,000.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like a perfect one.
I mean, I don't know how they got away with that.
What do you mean?
Legally?
Yeah, like to this day and age, if you use somebody else's mask and turn it inside out, they'd be like, "What the heck? You silly to crap!" Well, especially somebody like William Shatner.
If you change it 30%, it's not the same thing anymore. You painted it white, darken the hair, and cut out the eyes. Right there, it's not William Shatner anymore.
Yeah, we use that. We do that all the time, or we just simply put black tape over the name of something, and that makes it legal.
But people are. Do you have the mask from the cell? Do you have the mask from the cell?
No,
you work?
I didn't work on the cell.
And I got one more question. Jay wants to know what's one collectible you'd love to get your hands on that you don't have.
I would love a copy of the makeup from Legend Blix, the Goblin character. If I could find one of those, I'd probably buy it.
I think she's talking about the mask from the cell for you, Mark Richardson.
Oh, yes, I do. I have one of them. I have one. I have like one of the key masks from the cell, from Michael Myers' bedroom cell.
Oh, I see what you're saying, from
the paper mache ones, yeah.
Right.
Now, what's one collectible you'd love to have, Mark Richardson?
I have a copy of it, but I'd love to have the fossil hand from Creature of Black Lagoon. You know, I have a cheap copy of it, but when the, you know, I'd love to have that. I love Creature of Black Lagoon. I think that's my favorite.
I'd like to have something from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original. I think that'd be cool. But you don't see too much of that floating around.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre from the original?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be neat. If you could get it from the original one. Or number 2.
So do you like Leatherface more as a comedian? Or do you like that franchise as more horror?
Well, when I saw that movie, I thought it was amazing because it was so scary and weird. It didn't seem like a comedy to me when I saw it. I was scared because they were like characters you'd meet on the subway, you know? So like I was kind of freaked out by them. So to me it was scary. But I watch it now, I understand it's jokey, but it was done very like cold, that movie. Very weird. So I love that movie. I like Leatherface in that one. I think he's more of a character. The other ones he seems kind of just like a lumbering dude. There he's kind of, you know, he's got a little bit of emotion.
Yeah, they're rebooting that. That whole franchise again. It'll be interesting, to say the least. Yeah. It seems like Hollywood. I haven't had much faith in what Hollywood's been doing with these reboots and remakes.
They should just reboot all of them and then put them all together in one movie. Just Avenger it, you know. Just get them all. Everybody gets a new reboot of every movie. Lots of work, and then just put them all together in one big massacre. Get Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, Chucky, all of them.
Like a battle royale.
A battle royale of those guys. It would be amazing.
Well, that's what Bruce Campbell was kind of talking about, that he wanted to do the Expendables of horror.
Right.
And, you know, they've tried that before and it didn't work.
On what?
Death House.
Yeah, but Death House was so low budget. That's the problem. It honestly looked like they filmed it at a horror convention.
Yeah. Like, you know, you got to put some money into it.
What do you guys think about this? I love Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein because you had the Wolfman, and you had you had Lon Chaney, you had Bela Lugosi, you had all these great monsters. What do you think of a comedy horror like that, where we find like who would be a good comedy team to team up?
Hey, Mark, did you ever hear about how they were going to redo the Munsters, but with the Wayans brothers?
No. Oh my God.
It was like, you know, the neighborhood used to be nice and the Munsters were kind of the bad, crazy element. But then it's just gotten so bad. The neighborhood's gotten so crazy that like the Munsters house is still the same, but there's like just the whole neighborhood is terrible. And they're like the good ones in the neighborhood now.
That's funny.
Yeah, we were just having a talk about who would have been a good replacement for Herman. And because that's all we do is talk about old stuff.
Who's the guy in
I think,
everyone loves Raymond. Everybody loves Raymond, his brother. I think he would be a good Herman.
Yeah, he's not really that funny though. What about Will Ferrell?
Yeah.
He'd be a good Herman, right?
Yeah, of course.
Could be. I tell you, if you want, I think with the Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein, I think they should do it like a stoner version, like Cheech and Chong meets Frankenstein and the Wolfman.
Cheech and Chong would be brilliant in that. I would love that. I think I'd be hysterical. I'd love that.
You'd have to kind of update it though. It couldn't be Cheech and Chong. I don't think those guys are doing anything anymore.
I think they're still toking it up, man.
Yeah, maybe.
Who would be a good comedy team? I want to know who would be a good Abbott and Costello and meet like Abbott Costello meets Freddie, or who would be good with that? Who? Angela says Will Ferrell and Jack Black would be a good team up.
Yeah,
They ought to do a monster version of The Hangover.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be a good one.
You know.
These are $1 million ideas going on.
And we're just giving them away for free.
Handing them out.
6 months from now, they're going to be announcing The Hangover 6 with monsters in it. And I'm going to say, that was my idea. And everybody's going to tell me I was full of crap.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, that would be pretty good. Jay says they kind of did that with Monster Squad.
What was his partner's name?
And
Mark Villalobos.
Somebody said Adam Green and Joe Lynch should direct that. No, I don't think so. And Christian said, the movie they need to reboot is Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
They keep saying they are. Every time I talk to those guys, they say, "Oh yeah, it's in the making. It's in the making." They never have. I think a good remake that could be done really good is a Ghost of Mr. Chicken. I think that could be done really well.
Oh yeah.
I think it'd be a lot of fun.
That'd be good. They were going to do it back in the day with Steve Buscemi.
Oh, that would have been perfect.
I'd love to do Motel Hell.
Meat's meat. Man's got to eat.
That's
Motel Hell would be a good one.
You know, part of me, I'm just so tired of these reboots and remakes and respins. I'd like to see them give more indie filmmakers a little bit of a budget and let them have a chance at creating something original.
I'll tell you what the problem with this is. These indie filmmakers, a lot of these guys are in it just for the money. They go, oh, I'm directing this, I'm writing this, so I want $150,000 right off the top because I'm putting so much into it, and I'll put the rest of my money. They think when they get producers to give them money, they think it's their gravy train. What we need is people that want to make horror films that don't want to make a profit off the horror film, just want to do a quality film, you know, and that you don't have that with low budget filmmakers. You get filmmakers that do it for the money and not for the craft.
Now, I think the biggest problem of it all is you got guys going out on the indie side of it, getting investors to put money into projects. They get the projects, and then when they put that film out there for distribution, they're a victim of these distribution companies' fuzzy math. And when they get their first quarter earnings, and that distribution company has done some very shisty shit by stealing from this indie film.
Very true. Very true.
Profit. I just saw one guy faxed me over his distribution statement, and they were billing him $200 an hour for phone calls for non-legal services, just for sales shit.
Yeah, all that's bullshit. It's just wrong.
Nobody I know indie is really making any money off the distribution because all these companies, and maybe one day I'll start dropping some damn names if y'all don't stop cheating filmmakers. Are they just stealing from the filmmaker? You know?
Well, that's because the filmmaker doesn't really think of the business side of it.
That's right.
They're only thinking of the creative side. And if they're going to be creative people, they've got to be. You think James Cameron doesn't know the difference between net and gross? He knows exactly what it is, and he's not going to get cheated ever. And that's what they got to do. They got to go to a fucking business school and learn some shit so that they don't get ripped off all goddamn day. Yeah, that's their problem. It's not the producer's fault that he could just change 2 words and then they can't get any money. They got to look out for themselves.
Yep, and I think I agree with you because if you're going to make a movie, I think the first thing, it needs to be a quality product, but it also needs to be financially feasible. And if you don't study the business side, you'll never get it, like you said.
Yeah, there needs to be some sort of security for those people. Like a bigger company like, Blumhouse or something should open up a distribution where it's just black and white and they see it. This is what you're going to get and this is it. If you make a movie for this much and we buy it from you, this is what you get in the thing, and they can see it. It's every deal is different though, because some movies are amazing and they were made for $2 and they make $1 million off of them. So it's not their fault. They just want to make money. They're just producers.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I would definitely think that some of these guys need to go to school and learn it, because I have so many friends that have made amazing, cool movies and they're not getting any money from them.
I know.
yeah,
How many
same
people
thing here.
Mark that like made it after they made their movie?
No.
None of them, right?
Yeah, I mean, we worked for so many people. We've also looked, people that produced the film that lost their shirt, lost their homes or lost their business because they thought they got swindled into it. It's
Well, that's true. And then there's also the fact that, I think there's only a couple people I know that have really made it. Like the Duffer Brothers. We used to do stuff for the Duffer Brothers, and then they went off and did Stranger Things. But I think those guys were working on Stranger Things for a long time before they even got that made. It wasn't just like they came up with it and then it got made.
right.
I think, you could, if you look at their past work, it almost like they were working up to it, but it's, those guys probably made a good deal. I don't know.
Yeah, when you look at James Wan is really the last guy that I think that came over and struck it super big from the indie side, because they filmed the little $10,000 small scene from Saul, came over here from Australia, and look at it now. I mean, whew.
Yeah.
But whenever you see those kind of films, you talk to these guys, or you find out that they've been working on this film for decades. I love that comedy. I bring it up all the time. What We Do in the Shadows. That launched their careers, but they had been working on it forever. They constantly were making little shorts about it and stuff like that. And finally, they got a film with it. It's difficult, but if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. I just don't like being ripped off. What's that?
I remember you had a script that was my favorite title for any comedy horror movie.
Golf Corpse?
The Golf Corpse.
Yeah, I'd love to do that film. That film is, it's Evil Dead meets Caddyshack. It's a great script, and it's really funny. It's nonstop, bad golf jokes. I'd love to do that film. Yeah, we all have. What's that?
The premise was they built a golf course on a cemetery, right?
Well, the premise was the Book of Job. Basically, the devil wanted to play a legitimate game against the greatest golfer of all time, so he kills his guy's family, destroys his life, and they come into his town and they build a golf course on the cemetery, and it's a golf game. It's like a priest, a rabbi, and an ex-pro golfer against Satan and a demon, his minion, for the souls of the town. And it's just this golf game, the satanic, demonic Ghostbusters golf game. It's a blast. I'd love to do it.
Right?
Yeah, it is. It's a little bit of all that. It really is.
Well, we appreciate you guys joining in. We've been here about an hour. Mark Villalobos, do you got any last words for us?
Whew. Well, I think 2020 has been pretty scary, but I think a lot of people kind of hunkered down and are creating cool stuff. Like I'm getting little word of some of my friends starting their projects, and a lot of cool people are just using it to kind of make good quality stuff. And I think 2021, 2022, there's going to be like a shitload of horror stuff, because I've just been seeing it left and right. People writing scripts, people creating creatures. A friend of mine's got I think he's cutting a deal right now. Well, shit is all down. He's still cutting a deal with Netflix on something. So it's going to be really cool. I think everybody had time to kind of rest their brains and actually focus on what was important. So I think it's going to be a really good year next year for horror, and a lot of unique new movies that are going to be coming out. I'm excited.
What about you, Mark Richardson? Any last words?
I always think I better come up with last words for this, but I agree. I mean, I have no excuse not to write. I have no excuse not to be creative. You know, this is our time to shine. I do think that 2021 is going to be fantastic once it gets started. But before it gets started, you know, we're in such a weird place. But you know, we are reading more. We are you know, every horror film on Shudder we're watching. You know, we're definitely get a better grasp on what you know we're doing. So the only thing I say is just keep doing it. You know, keep focusing on what you want to do. Because I really do think once we come out of this hole, we're going to be better people for it. I hope.
We're going to be ravenous.
Yeah.
Be hungry. People are going to want to make shit and stop talking about it. So it's going to be good.
Well, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. And guys, be sure you share this live feed. If you watch this, tag somebody. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark, for joining in. Special.
Thank you.
Special happy birthday,
Mark.
Kevin Tate. You know.
Happy birthday, Kevin.
You guys take care. Thanks everybody for watching. Sergeant Har, Mark and Mark for Mad Monster, and we're out of here.
Adios, guys.
See you later.